So for you Christians out there who've been waking up, seeing the corruption within the government, you're arguing left versus right, going to rallies, protests, making political posts, railing against the government. Well, did you know that the Bible warns against this? So let's start in Romans chapter 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive themselves damnation. So what Paul is saying here is that God ordains these politicians, these leaders, governors, presidents, to rule over us, whether they're good or bad. And so if you speak evil against these rulers, you're speaking against the authority of God. And so whoever resists this power of God says right here, he that resists shall receive to themselves damnation. That's pretty severe. So continuing on in verse 3, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power to do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same? For he is the minister of God to do thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. So Paul is saying that these rulers, the government, is not a terror unto good works, and these good works is God's 10 commandments. So if you're keeping those 10 commandments, you don't have anything to worry about. The government's coming after you. And if they do come after you, well, blessed are you who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. So here in verse 5, wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. And Yeshua says something very similar to this, about give to Caesar what is Caesar's. In Luke chapter 20, verse 25, and Yeshua said unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which are God's. So whatever the government laws are, be subject unto them, obey them, unless they go contrary to God's laws. So your first priority is to keep God's commandments, and then also to keep the commandments and laws that the government ordains. Peter also agrees with Paul. So in 1 Peter chapter 2, starting in verse 13, it says, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme, or unto governors as unto them that are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers, and for the praise of them that do well. For so is the will of God, that with well-doing ye may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. As free, and not using your liberty as a cloak of maliciousness, but as the servants of God. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. So even if those who rule over us are corrupt and evil, we still have to obey those laws, as long as they don't contradict God's commandments. And Peter continues in 2 Peter chapter 2, starting in verse 9, the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness, and despise government, presumptuous are they, self-willed, they are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings, while they feast with you. So again, these people who are speaking evil against the government, well, they're going to receive the reward of unrighteousness. They're going to be severely punished for doing this. So in Acts chapter 23, Paul unintentionally spoke against a ruler of his people, but once he realized who he was, he immediately repented. So starting in verse 3, it says, Then Paul said unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? And they that stood by revilest thou God's high priest? Then said Paul, I wist not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. Notice it says, for it is written. Anytime in the New Testament it says it is written, it's referring back to the Old Testament. And here it is in Exodus chapter 22, verse 28, Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of thy people. So now you see, despite the corruption that's within the governments and the rulers and the politicians, we are not to speak evil against them. We're not supposed to rail against them, make political posts. In fact, what we should be doing is keeping first the 10 Commandments and then teaching others to do the same, because the government is not a terror unto good works.